All right, welcome back, fellow TFFL owners, to your weekly TFFL webcast. It is Thursday. It's Thursday, December 3rd, 2020. Crazy, crazy year finally coming to a close. 1 month to go, guys. So we're looking, and the TFFL regular season's coming to a close. We're looking back at week 12. We're looking ahead to week 13, our final week of the regular season. Final week of this COVID season, final regular season week of Rich's first year as commissioner. Let's get right to it. Let me give our panel introductions. Rich, commissioner, Wizards king and ruler, welcome.
Greetings, everyone. We are at the last week of the regular season has arrived. I am quite excited that we've made it there, and I hope everyone's doing well, safe and happy. I got my bourbon of the week sitting here, and it's sort of the theme for the Lizard season. See, I hit rock bottom, so I'm drinking Rocktown. Here you go, my pun of the week.
All right.
So rock bottom. Cheers to everyone. Welcome to the show.
Skipper the Sponge Fisherman, Chief, welcome.
Thank you. I'm firmly with the classics today. I'm in a classic kind of mood. So cheers yourself, and let's talk football.
All right, but before we talk football, let me introduce Hank, our IT director, czar and CEO of the K-Wheels, who's going to talk golf.
Oh, great. Yes, good. So I wanted to real quickly. I think I touched on. I was away for a week seeing my in-laws in Wilmington over Thanksgiving, and then had a chance to drive down to Charleston from Wilmington to play golf with my friend Ian and my dad and another buddy of ours. And Mr. Berkman was kind enough to hook me up with his brother-in-law, who happens to be the head pro at this golf course, which is something that I hope I can explain a little bit. This place is like carved out of a part of the planet that's like kind of near the open marshes and toward the ocean of South Carolina. And it's just kind of this, created piece. And they said they moved Earth to make this whole thing happen. And they created this unbelievable golf course, which is hilly and wide open and challenging as hell and windy, and I played awesome. It was one day of the 4 days that we played golf that I beat everybody. I won all the money, and it was great, and I loved it, and it was one of my favorite days of golf ever, because aside from that day, I played 3 other days and was horrendous. So at least I have that. And Berkman, I want to thank you, and thank Steve for that treat to play Bulls Bay in South Carolina, and it was awesome.
Oh, fantastic. Nothing can bring me more joy than to know one of your best golf outings I had something to do with, and that you enjoyed the course. Bulls Bay is fantastic. It's great. I've been fortunate to have the opportunity to stay there a number of times over the last couple of decades and watched it evolve as well. I even held a tournament on it once. It's a phenomenal course. You got a windy day. I don't think it's normally crazy windy, but you had clearly a windy day.
I mean, it was like playing golf in Ireland. It really was. I mean, and it's sort of a linksy course like that, where it's not punitive rough. It's wide open. You can miss the fairway.
It's also very rustic. The whole feel of everything at Bulls Bay is very rustic.
But this amazing property, I mean, it exists for no other reason than this golf course. There's no tennis courts. There's no pool. There's not, there's a nice clubhouse where you can get some food, but there's
a nice bar.
Day golf, period.
Yeah, and they have their own barrel of Elijah Craig bourbon too.
Yeah, they do have the bar, which of course goes with golf. They also have a cigar area and whatnot.
I said, now I'm interested. You have my attention.
Or Chief will be.
I don't know if this will get you, but one of their top members is Hootie.
Yeah, from Hootie the Blowfish, they have big signs. He's obviously a patron of the place, and they have a concert there with him. I don't know if it's
Annually, he does a concert. Yeah, he does a concert there annually.
I'm just glad that black men can play golf on public course and private courses in South Carolina. That's a big win. But
I mean,
at the risk of making this a golf webcast, just for my ignorance, let me ask a question. How good a golfer is a course pro at a place like this?
well, Steve was really frank with me and says he has not been playing much golf at all lately. He's been, he's in the business side of running this place, I think, a lot more, and he deals with the members and, a lot of
let's be clear. Steven was an amazing golfer and a pro who started his career as a pro at La Costa in San Diego. Came out back east and had this great opportunity at Bulls Bay after being at a couple other courses in South Carolina. And, now he's older than me, right? And he's sort of the retired pro. He runs the whole joint, right? Is pretty much his job now. And there's younger pros. Now, to your question,
yes.
What is a pro like at a golf course like that?
Let's say Phil wanted a job as a course pro.
Right.
What were they? He goes to an interview. What are they going to say?
You got to be pretty much a scratch golfer, right?
Yeah. You got to be a really good golfer. And I know Steve was a scratch golfer for a number of years. And I mean, he was great. But as you get older and as you get further and further in the business, it turns much more into a business. I mean, he's dealing with trying to get members and trying to grow the revenues.
Yeah. I don't mean anything to do with Steve himself. Just
How
good is golf?
You got to be really good to be a pro.
Yeah,
at a golf course, you got to be good to instruct almost everybody there, unless they're another pro. You know what I mean?
No.
From talking to my dad, I get the sense that he and the fellow members at his golf club are about to stage a coup because the golf pro is too interested in getting outside players in and giving the proper attention to the members.
Oh, interesting.
That is not the case at Bulls Bay. We felt like we were kind of invading the palace a little bit. I mean, it was awesome, and it was like they gave us a membership number, and everything was just charged to that membership number, and there was no cash involved in anything. I mean, it was very, very cool, and like I said, Berkman, that was a great thing for us to be able to do. So thank you.
Phil, if you played a golf pro, how many strokes did you lose by?
25.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah.
20 to 25. If I played really, really good and he was maybe not great, I could maybe get to 15. Maybe.
That answers a lot.
He shot 73, maybe.
In theory, a pro is probably going to be shooting par on his course.
Yes. At Bulls Bay, if I saw a pro shoot par that day, I would have been amazed. I mean,
with the wind you had. Yeah.
It was sick.
So by taking all the money, that means you probably got like $1.40 out of Harry Hawkins.
Oh, no, dude, we were playing for major golf stakes, and I think Harry actually ended up owing me $9.
That's big.
I think I ended up having a couple of pieces of trash because I made pars on holes on par threes where you hit the green and then make par.
Yep.
I did that twice during the round. So
nice.
And one of them is one of the prettiest golf shots I've ever hit. It was like this 185-yard par three, like up a hill, and I just crushed a 5-iron, and it just kind of curved in nicely, dropped, landed 12 feet, missed the putt, but I made par.
Good job.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I'm thrilled. I couldn't be happier. I had a great time.
Sorry. Yes. So I digress on golf, but again,
9 minutes. Put that in disclaimer when you send the link around.
9 minutes.
9 minutes.
Yes. Okay.
All right. So let me give you some headlines first. I'll let you wait on trivia for just a second because let's start talking football right away here. And we've got some news, in our headlines. Senators' 10-game winning streak snapped by the Sponge Fisherman. Well done.
That guy.
Done.
Clap.
The only one who could take down the Sens all year.
No surprises here.
Yep.
Well done.
We'll get one more shot here coming up.
So and indeed, so the Senators 10-2, 2 losses to the Sponge. We'll come back to that 10-2 mark in a moment. speaking of the Sponge, they're now 8-4. They've kind of been lurking in the background with the Senators on their big winning streak. The Hams had a big winning streak. The Champions, now 8-4, obviously headed to the playoffs. Another good season and going to be fighting for a title. Chief, well done.
3, 8-4 teams.
K-Wheels, 125 points in Week 12. Almost a record-setting performance. Second such game this year. They had 116 earlier in the year. And our second highest scoring team in the league all season long now, not going to the playoffs.
And you guys ask me why I'm a little bit bitter. What am I going to say? When my team needs to lose, they put up 125. And if not for DK Metcalf, my best player all year, he dropped a touchdown in the end zone that would have given me the record, which is frustrating, but whatever. 125 is impressive. I'm happy to win, and I love beating Ralph. If I'm going to win a game and lose draft position, beating Ralph is the way I want to do it. And I'm probably going to do it again this weekend and beat Berto because my team is playing really well right now, and Berto's not. He doesn't even have a quarterback at the moment, and he has no startable quarterback on his roster. So he better hope that 3 or 4 of them don't go off the board before he happens to have to pick.
Better have a lengthy set of picks.
Better have a lot of depth.
Or else what? He loses the first-round pick or something, right?
Maybe it reverts back to the K-Wheel.
No, I don't think if he made every attempt to try and get a player and was unable to, then I don't know that would stay.
All right. Will Fuller suspended, pretty much done. In fact, done for the 2020 season, and I believe is going to miss the first game of 2021 for what that's worth. Kind of a blow to the Senators. He was a starting receiver for the Senators. 21 big points last week. Antonio Brown.
What'd they give up for him? What did they give up for him?
Third, fourth, fifth. I don't know.
You're testing my memory. Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you knew. Thought you had that ready.
Sorry. But yeah, so Will Fuller's done. I was about to say, Antonio Brown, another guy the Senators traded for, has not really stepped up quite yet. Is getting actually a lot of targets in Tampa Bay and may still emerge. But that's a blow for the Senators for sure. Big games ahead. We got a win or go home game. I've intentionally avoided spoiling playoff scenarios here in my headlines. We'll get to our standings, our playoff picture, our draft order in just a second. But let me give you a trivia question. All right, so we just talked about the Senators standing at 10-2. They play the Aliens in Week 13. Very well could get to 11-2. And in so doing, would continue a trend that we have seen now for the last 4 years, where we really have a dominant team that has lost 2 or fewer games. Didn't always used to be that way often. In fact, 2016, I think the best team that year was the K-Wheels at 9-4. I think we've actually had years where the best team is 8-5 or 10-3. But we have a trend now 4 straight years where the best team has no more than 2 losses. I want you to name all those teams, the dominant teams that we have had over these last 4 seasons.
I'm sorry, how many 4 seasons, including this one?
2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. 4 seasons. Name all the teams.
There's 4 teams?
I'm not answering that question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Name all the I'm sorry. Can you you're going to need to repeat this.
Name all the teams over the last 4 seasons that have dominated the regular season with a record with 2 or fewer losses.
Got it.
And I'm going to insist that you put the year by the team that you come up with. You don't.
Wait, you're saying you're counting this year already?
I'm counting this year. The Senators at the moment have 2 losses. We know who they are. I'm going to
you're giving us that one. That's good.
Points because Berto's not here.
Right. Good. Love it.
All right.
Then we're supposed to remember the 3 with the year.
Yes. It's not going back that far.
Yeah. No way. All right.
Okay, so that's your trivia question. We'll come back to the answer on that one. Hank, no, let's go to Rich first. How about our commissioner's report? We have a special free agent.
I can think a little on that, I suppose. All right. Well, commissioner's report. We've moved the free agent and priority pick deadline to noon on Saturday, as we had the big brouhaha of scuffles with COVID games and delays and Thanksgiving and all kinds of crazy crap. That shuffled some games, so there will be 2 Monday night games and 1 Tuesday night game this coming week, but no Thursday game tonight that we're not watching and talking about. So I've moved the pick to Saturday. Outside of that, I don't have much else to report.
And as a reminder, you said this in your commissioner's report, playoff teams can still exercise free agent picks if they have them once the playoffs start. They don't get to keep those players after the playoffs are done. But non-playoff teams should be looking at week 13 here as their final chance to make any sort of move and to lock in somebody that they could potentially keep.
That would be accurate.
Okay. There you go. So, hey, Rich, well done. Your first regular season's wrapping up.
It's been a whirlwind. It's been a whirlwind. Sometimes they tell you, fate works in mysterious ways, and I guess I was supposed to be commissioner during this time.
Well done.
It worked out maybe for me and the league from that perspective. So it's been a pleasure serving the league, and I look forward to another year of it. I've actually enjoyed it quite a bit, and it's been fun. I can't say that my record, my team, my schedule, and I'm as bitter as Hank is about the year. I may not be showing it in the same way, but I am, I'm not happy. I'm not happy about the record, the schedule, the injuries, the things out of my control. But that's to your point earlier, where anything can happen in the playoffs. Get in. It's a new season, and I wish everyone who's headed to the playoffs really good luck in their pursuit of the Pac-12.
Rich, thank you for leading us through this interesting year. And hey, cheers to everybody around the league. We talked about this at the start of the season. We were all going to have to be flexible. And to the NFL's credit, they've had a few hiccups obviously along the way, but this has felt like a real NFL season. They've for better or worse, plowed through and playing the games. And we've all adapted. We haven't had too much adaptation to do, but these COVID picks and lots of free agents and
we worked out a plan and honestly, I think there was only like 2 tough weeks. There's only been really 2 tough weeks. One of them being this last one, and then week 3, I think it was. In between that, there's been a little bit here and there, but those were probably the 2 major challenging weeks. And we'll see what's in store for us ahead as it relates to playoffs. But I mean, look, just like we were talking about before, COVID is a extra variable that is unpredictable, just like an injury or just like anything else, a storm, weather, a hurricane. It's something that's impacted the league. We've dealt with it, and so has the NFL. And I think we're fortunate that we've gotten this far and that we've had a great season. So, rock on.
And we all keep saying it, just get into the playoffs, anything can happen. This year, that is especially true because if, the AMPAC or the Senators or whoever you want to think the favorite is suddenly has 1 or 2 key guys who, like Lamar Jackson, is out for a week or 2 weeks with COVID in the playoffs, that changes everything in a hurry. So, we're about to see how that all shakes out. Let's get right to our standings. Hank has got those. We'll I think, pivot to Chief, who's got the playoff scenarios nailed down. Hank, why don't you also take us through the draft order to the extent you can forecast that?
Yeah, I can do that a little bit. All right, here you go. Here's the standings. I'm doing it this way. Oops, sorry. Good now. I know. All right, so come on. We have the Senators at 10-2. Had a little lead, just like we talked about. They have been rolling. Well done to the Kramer and the Senators. 8-4 sitting there with the Ampac, the Hams, and the Sponge, all looking at the playoffs squarely at 8-4. Then down here we have the Mongols sitting at 7-5. As mentioned, big game coming with the Devils this week. Aliens are now champions of their division as the Lizards and Boba Fetts fall down. The Killers stand there at 5-7 with no playoff hope, but they do play the K-Wheels this weekend, whose late season resurgence may have be costing my draft position quite dramatically, going from 1 to, I guess, as far back as 5, which, you know.
Right. I was as high as making the playoffs almost, and now down to maybe the number 2 pick.
Yeah. So, it's about right for the year for me. It's been grand, not at all. But I think with this weekend statement, and I think everybody, my team is pretty damn good, and we have everybody back next year. And Saquon will be back. I'm going to have the number 4 or 5 pick in the draft coming along with Antonio Gibson, who's starting to look like a legit back.
Yep.
DK Metcalf looks a lot like maybe the best receiver in the league in the years to come. So, fear the K-Wheels.
Real quick on Metcalf. Obviously, he fell to the end of the second round. Every NFL team passed on him. But I can remember we were all chatting on draft day, and you might remember Tyreek Hill was nearly suspended or about to be suspended right before that draft. Maybe even released by the Chiefs. That was the thing, was the Chiefs going to release him. They were sitting there in the second round, and I remember saying, I'm like, they're going to fucking take DK Metcalf and pair him with Mahomes.
And oh my.
And I believe they ended up taking Mecole Hardman instead. And
They did.
Indeed. Can you imagine the Chiefs with Mahomes throwing to Hardman, to Metcalf and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce? Good Lord. Anyway.
Yep.
Number 1 pick, I believe we talked about this, the Beavers.
Yeah, the Beavers are bad at this point. The Beavers have the inside track.
They play the Ampac this week. That if they indeed lose to the Ampac, they will take the number 1 overall pick by virtue of winning the tiebreaker with the Boba Fetts, I believe.
Correct.
I mean, the Fats could win though, and I could lose, and that would end up shifting. The Fats would be irrelevant. If the Fats lose and they lose, then yes, you're right. The tiebreaker they take.
Yeah.
But remember, Berkman, if I also lose and you lose and the Fats win, you're going to lose out in that scenario because Phil's back into the 2 pick.
Right, because I beat you.
Yes, and so did the Fats.
There you go. That puts me up to 3. I don't care. I'm not trying to get to the 2 or 1.
Don't worry about it.
I don't give a shit. I end up where I end up. It's all good.
The K-Wheels are going to spank the Killers this week without trying, and I wish I couldn't. I wish I could lose. A lesser team might lay down and try and figure out some way to not have to start Derrick Henry and Deshaun Watson, but I have to start them.
Yep.
And they're going to score points and beat the Killers, and it will cost me draft position. But I can still tell Berto that he lost to the K-Wheels, which is nice.
All right, let's talk about the playoff scenarios. Chief, you've got this pretty well nailed down, and there isn't a lot still to settle. But we do, as I mentioned, we have a win or go home game. We have some seeding. Tell us what we need to be watching, who needs to do what.
Great. Okay. Let's start with the easy part. Okay. Your Senators, the number 1 seed, SoCo champions. Okay. As the NoCo champions, Ampac slide into the number 2 seed. With me so far, right?
That's easy.
The Sponge and the Hams are locked into the 5 and 6 seeds. They have a head-to-head this weekend. Winner gets the 5, loser gets the 6th. Okay. That's one of 2 important games this weekend, although it's not really important, so I'll play an inferior team either way in the wild card matchup. So that leaves a 3 and 4 among 3 teams. Okay, we have the Aliens as the NoCo West champion. And we have, as mentioned, the Dirt Devils and the Mongols as the SoCo East leaders. So when that head-to-head game, okay, there's only a couple scenarios here. If the Mongols beat the Devils, Mongols take the 3 seed, Aliens take the 4 seed. if the Dirt Devils beat the Mongols and the Aliens win, the Aliens get the 3 seed and the Dirt Devils get the 4 seed. However, if the Dirt Devils beat the Mongols and the Aliens lose, the Dirt Devils vault into the number 3 seed by virtue of a better record, and Aliens will take the number 4 seed that way. So there's a few different ways it can pan out. So that's that. If the Aliens win, they should feel pretty good about their chances. But again, I don't think there's a whole lot of advantage between 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 this year. I think the best teams get the buys, and everything else is up for grabs.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
It's all up for grabs. It's all up for grabs. I mean, it's Kramer and Ralph just lost. I mean, everybody's beatable at this time, and everybody's look. The K wheels got hot. Any team can get hot like that. So
It's true.
good luck.
That's the importance of playing one fewer game.
Mhm.
One fewer opportunity to honk up poor performance.
As I said before the show, I do indeed giggle a little bit at the notion of the Aliens as a number 3 seed in this league, but that's kind of where we've been all year long. The AMPAC and the Senators as our top 2 teams. Sponge and the Hams have been great, but the AMPAC and Sens have kind of been on top. And, if nothing else, the Aliens are going to have a 3-point home field advantage in the first round, right?
2.5. Point taken.
Does that come into play? Do I have to have a better record than the team I'm playing? Or
You do not. You will get 2.5 points,
2.5.
Nice.
as will the SoCo West winner.
And Chief, once again, what a brilliant idea that was. 18 years too late, but let's
Make it 0.5 instead of 3 solid.
Yeah, it's such a
Yeah, makes a ton of sense.
yeah. All right, let's
There's always room for innovation.
You realize my first proposal was to be 0.5, and so home field advantage only kicked in if it was a tie, but that got shouted down. So
All right.
we're 2.5.
Let's pivot to a few more open-ended topics here to move along. Berto isn't here tonight. We will certainly talk about this next topic when he is back, but let's collect some opinions before he's here. Joe Burrow, season-ending injury, not this past weekend, but actually the weekend before. We didn't talk about it last week. But we spent a lot of time. Hank's been fretting about, Berto and the Giant Killers getting their quarterback in the future, and Burrow getting a stud running back this year in DeAndre Swift. Is Burrow even a keeper anymore, or a definite keeper? At this point for the Giant Killers, he may not be. I don't think he's a guaranteed Week 1 starter next year for the Bengals. So there's some risk in the 2021 season in keeping him as your starting quarterback. Has he proven enough this year that they lock him down and bank on him as their quarterback in the future?
Well, I think he's not a keeper for a good team unless you're keeping 2 quarterbacks. He's on a terrible team. And yes, he's had good numbers because he's had to throw virtually every down. We've had Joe Mixon out for half the season. I don't know. Personally, I have not seen enough out of Joe Burrow. I said, this guy is going to be a great NFL quarterback. I haven't seen it. Other people certainly have watched the Bengals more than me, though maybe not in this webcast. I think if Joe Burrow is your keeper quarterback, your roster is in really rough shape.
The Killers don't.
A lot of owners would feel pressured into keeping him because of where he's drafted. Berto's not one of them. If he's not in those top 7, he'll cut him. He has no problem with that.
I agree with that. I don't think Berto will have a problem cutting him if he doesn't feel like he can be the guy. I just think Berto maybe thinks he can be the guy. Whether he can or not, I don't know. But he's tempting. He's an interesting guy. I mean, I think if he was thrown back into the draft, he probably goes in the first couple of rounds, first 2-3 rounds. And maybe that's what you do is throw him back and hope you get him again. I don't know. Berto doesn't have a quarterback. Maybe he doesn't care. He's done well before without having a quarterback, but I think with his roster and his team, I think Chief's right. Not every team would keep him. I think Burrow might.
Yeah, so I think it comes down to what we see in the preseason and where he's at ultimately for whether he keeps them or not. Because I think that, to your point, I'd agree that I think everyone would say, well, except John, maybe he hasn't seen enough. I think he's talented enough to be a keeper, and someone you'd invest in to be your starter. I think he's damaged goods now. I think that is going to play into whether what we see in the preseason, if he's keepable or not. And I think my gut says Berto likely lets him go in favor of keeping something else he got, because he feels like he can get another Burrow or somebody else or trade. And, he'd really, if he shows up to camp and he's on and he can start and he's in for week 1, he's a keeper. Outside of that, I think he lets him go.
I think I agree with you 100%. I think if, as it's currently forecasted, that Burrow's shaky to start the season, misses the first few games, doesn't do much in the exhibition games or training camp to give you a good enough confidence level. Yeah, I think Burrow lets him go, actually. All right, next topic. Speaking of quarterbacks, I don't know if I have a question here, but I think it's worth noting. Chief and the Sponge a few weeks ago made a big trade, went out and got Aaron Rodgers. I think Chief is on record in previous debates as saying he doesn't really give a crap about quarterback and wide receiver tandems. But let's note that he's got Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. And in the 3 games that Aaron Rodgers has been in the starting lineup, 36 combined points with Devontae Adams in week 12, 34 combined points with Devontae Adams in week 11, 32 combined points with Devontae Adams in week 10. That's what you brought Aaron Rodgers over to do. Well done, Chief. Did you really eye this as a quarterback-receiver tandem, or, hey, you were just going after Aaron Rodgers because he was a stud quarterback available?
Yeah, the latter.
Yeah.
Again, Devontae Adams is great. He's a great player, and a lot of that is due to Aaron Rodgers. He wouldn't be great if Cam Newton was throwing to him, but he's not. So yeah, it was just a matter of upgrading the quarterback position by what I feel is leaps and bounds.
Yep.
I have I've got this gnawing at the back of my brain that says the Packers win the Super Bowl, Rodgers retires, and then where am I? But I think Rodgers is going to be chasing some all-time records, so I think he'll be sticking around for a little bit. No, it was I don't care. I actually, and you were right about me not really caring about the QB wide receiver tandem. I'll go farther and say I prefer not to. I don't like a bad game for my quarterback fucking up another guy on my team too.
Yep.
So all things being equal, I prefer not to. But all things being equal, you prefer a good player to a bad one. So it's really not that complicated.
A couple comments. One is to the quarterback receiver thing. I think it's fun. Like, I have Watson now with Brandon Cooks all of a sudden playing really well and being somebody who's relevant. That's kind of more fun than what Chief is saying. Is Chief's got his number 1 receiver now tied to his quarterback, and that can be a little bit scarier. But they've been awesome, So, what did you pay to get Rodgers?
Number 2 in 2022.
That's right. And that's it.
Now, there's something going back the other way, but yeah.
It was like a 6th or something like that coming back,
8
right?
maybe. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Nice job.
11.
Nice job.
I think you clearly won that deal, and
I don't think there's a win there. I think that there's a fine feeling of a win by Bill in getting a 2 in 2022 for Rodgers.
Okay, looks good on you though.
Let's just highlight the key point here.
Anybody could have had Rodgers at some point. No, maybe not. In the last 5 years, I would imagine if you wanted to trade for him.
The price tag was going to be higher in previous years.
I have offered 2 number 1s for Rodgers about 3 years ago and couldn't get him.
There you go.
Right.
So, again, hey, 4-game winning streak for the Sponge now. Again, in a very tough division, they've stayed alive and that, now stand 8-4. 4-game winning streak with these kind of numbers out of the guy you went and acquired for a second-round pick. This is what GM of the Year candidates do. Well done, Chief.
Undefeated within the division. Just in case you've forgotten.
The Lizards, I believe, have that potential.
That's
correct?
true. Undefeated in the division. all my wins coming in the division, which is very odd.
So one final topic I wanted to bring up.
Except for the fact I beat Hank.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
One final topic I wanted to bring up.
Everybody beats Hank, by the way.
Another playoff team, the Hormel Hams. We've talked about this, I think, maybe last year or the year before, an issue that the Hams have, which is Patrick Mahomes at the top of their lineup scoring, 30 points many weeks, and nobody, in the running back or receiver slots hitting 10 points. And we've documented this in the past. Let me just see if I can walk you through this real quick. Week 12 for the Hormel Hams, 65 points as a team. More than half of that, 33, coming from Mahomes. One other guy, Ronald Jones, in double digits. Week 11 for the Hormel Hams, 44 total points, 19 of them from Patrick Mahomes, almost half of them. Nobody else in double digits. Week 10, I'll stop at some point, but I can keep going back. Week 10 for the Hormel Hams, only 42 points. And that's because Mahomes didn't play, and basically nobody else except Ronald Jones, again, with double digits, stepping up. Week 9 for the Hormel Hams. One more here for you. 71 total points. Again, half of them practically, 33 of them, coming from Patrick Mahomes. One guy, Christian Kirk, in the lineup in double digits. I love having Mahomes at the top of the lineup, and I've said, he gives you a chance every week. But have the Hams really built a strong enough team behind them that they're a contender?
It's a great point, and I think you must learn a lot from the commissioners report on a weekly basis. Yeah,
it's a reference point.
I love it. No, but I think you're right. We called that out earlier in the year. We called it out preseason. I think that the Hams generally don't have a lot of depth. And the players on a weekly basis that he has in the lineup, it's Mahomes and then, a glimmer of hope from somebody else who shows up. Ronald Jones turned out to be a pretty good trade for him this year. Clearly he's sparked up, and the threat of Fournette coming in hasn't really done much to diminish his value, which is pretty awesome. So he's got that going for him. But, outside of that, you're right. I mean, Kirk is, a flash in the pan. He's, 2 touchdowns one week, like when he's playing the Lizards, and then, nothing else for a few weeks, right?
So but before the rest of you guys jump in here, go pull up the Hams roster if you can, because I'll throw a related question out there that you can respond to. The Hams, as you might recall, had – I think it was 3 first-round picks this year. We talked a lot about that. CeeDee Lamb, I think, is going to be a keeper. Talented guy, derailed a little bit by this weird season for the Cowboys. But answer me, is A.J. Dillon a definite keeper for this franchise? And the really interesting character is Josh Kelly, who, we all kind of lauded the Hams for taking at number 12 overall, who has pretty much disappeared as a fantasy factor as the season has gone on. Probably, I don't know, probably not a keeper. Is Josh Kelly a keeper?
And there's a few things here. Going back to the original point of discussion, point 1, the Hams are 8-4. And point number 2, it's a pretty big point of evidence in a discussion of, is a quarterback more valuable than running backs? And I think, Stick, you and I have always said yes. If you can get a quarterback, they're just so much consistent, and they work like a machine to put up 22 to 30 points every week. That's as valuable as it gets. And this is proving it out. Because you're right, he doesn't have a whole lot. Michael didn't think this was his year. He unloaded some pieces before the draft. He drafted all young, with the exception of Gronkowski. Right? He went really young, first and second year players, with upside. As you said, a lot of them didn't pan out.
Right. Let's not forget David Johnson got hurt too for a while.
Sure.
So he got a little injury bug as well.
Right. Deontay Johnson was a keeper, probably a keeper again. AJ Dillon, unless the Packers and Aaron Jones can't come to an agreement and he leaves the team, AJ Dillon's not a keeper. Right? Joshua Kelly's not a keeper. Sonny Michel might be, but he's not a great one. Tyler Boyd. Okay, I think Tyler Boyd now is probably the number one receiver in Cincinnati, so you keep him. You can't keep Michael Gallup now. You wouldn't keep.
Funny. I offered him. I wonder if he regrets the fact I offered him a trade for Gallup early in the season. He wanted to keep both of them.
I did too. Yeah.
We were talking about the quarterback wide receiver combo. I was looking to pair him with Dak at that point, and before, and man, Dak was lighting it up. So you're talking about quarterback. Yeah, it's a big deal, but Gallup's not a keeper. You're right. Keep going. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. My only point is, so I would expect Michael to be a little active up in the weeks leading to Protection Day to boost up that keeper roster, because a lot of those young guys didn't pan out.
Yeah, the other
he was
thing,
active in the FAIR process. I don't think any of those guys are going to end up being keepers either.
Right. The other thing that I think he'll have some good consideration. I don't know where these guys stand, obviously, but there's some guys like AJ Dillon who, well, maybe not AJ, but Sonny Michel, maybe he gets traded. Maybe they run with Harris going forward, and Jones gets traded or something. Gallup maybe gets traded. No, maybe not, but there could be some movement. What about Michael Pittman? I think he has Pittman as a keeper. I think Pittman will end up being a keeper with Boyd, and then he'll probably. I don't know who the other one is on the wide receivers. Is it Johnson, Kirk, Williams? Who?
CeeDee Lamb.
All right. So all his keepers are on the bench. And then, there's Hawkinson, and I don't think he keeps Rashad Penny, right?
No.
So there you go. Unless Gus Edwards gets traded or something, or Devontae Booker does, and they turn into something good, then, I don't know. It's a little tough.
Yeah, I think Gus and Sony are going to be those part-time backs where maybe they sneak on to the last keeper spot. But you're right, they could be traded. There could be a preseason injury, and all of a sudden the Ravens start Gus Edwards next year, and then he is a keeper.
He looked pretty good last night.
What's going to happen?
Yeah, Chief, I tend to agree with you that a quarterback at the top of the lineup is the most valuable thing. I've been saying this for as long as Mahomes has been the starter for the Chiefs and the Hams.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Hams' chances any week against almost any team. But gosh, they do really seem to lack a lot of firepower beneath him. And I have trouble seeing them winning 3 playoff games.
Mm-hmm. Fair statement. Mahomes is going to have to carry these guys, and a couple other players that are not now are going to have to get hot. I mean, Ronald Jones is going to have to be better. Deontay Johnson and, Gus Edwards are going to have to start going off. And Devontae Booker's 35 at this point? I mean, I feel like I had him last decade as a keeper.
I don't know how old he is, but.
Mm-hmm. I bet you it was like 4 years ago you had him as a keeper.
Probably.
By some definitions, that was the last decade.
Mm-hmm.
And Booker's, well, who knows? Booker this week could be a factor with Josh Jacobs' injury. Not a big part of the Hams. Deontay Johnson is the kind of guy who's going to have some big games in the playoffs to support the Hams. If they're going to. And I'm not picking on the Hams here at all. I just want to bring it back to the start of the season. At number 12, I think the big debate we were talking about was James Robinson versus Josh Kelly. I didn't know who James Robinson was at the time. I'm not, again, criticizing the Hams, but nobody really knew who Josh Kelly was at the time either. That was kind of a surprise pick too. and just hasn't worked out. It's just weird how they gave Kelly I think 20 plus touches week 1 or week 2, and I don't think he performed all that poorly with I think he had some fumbles in there, but Kalen Bellagio, we're taking him on the depth chart. Eckler getting so many touches right away last week. Kelly's just not a factor anymore. All right, let me give you a trivia answer, and we'll wrap up here.
I got a list.
All
I
right.
have no idea.
We all have one.
So Rich was smart enough to ask the question. That there indeed have been more than 4 teams fitting the bill here over the last 4 years. Again, the gimme this year at the moment, the Senators only have 2 losses. They probably will stay with only 2 losses after playing the Aliens. So you get 2 points, hopefully, for putting the Senators down for 2020.
All right.
In 2019, we had an undefeated team, Slippery Beavers, 12-0-1.
Got it.
2018, we had another undefeated team, Boba Fats. Boba Fats, 12-0-1. And in 2017, we had 2 teams finish at 11-2, the Amsterdam Packers.
Got it.
And the Boba Fats. You might remember the Boba Fats had that long, 20-game winning streak spanning 2 seasons.
Chief almost nailed it.
No, I got the years wrong. I got 3 right.
17. I got the AMPAC in 2017, the Beavers in 2019, and the Senators in 2020.
All right.
3.
You're getting,
You get 6 points for that?
I thought the
And
Hams had a couple of seasons like that.
You each got 3. Well done. Times 2
We
points.
each got 3.
All right, so 2017 with Boba Fats, 2018 is
I would have right. I got the sponge here too, but yeah, no, look at that.
Never.
Amazing.
The team you had to remember was Ralph's really great year in 2017 when he went 11-2.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I missed
that was 2018.
wait a second. 2017 was the AMPAC and Fats,
And the Fats at 11. Yeah,
right.
and then 2018 was just the Fats.
correct.
Okay.
Right.
2019 was the Beavers, and this year it's the Senators.
2019 was just the Beavers. I thought the Impact was really good last year too.
I thought the sponge was really good that year in 19. No? The
Let-
sponge didn't have less than 3 losses?
Let me get a
Never had less than 3 losses.
Oh, fair enough.
bear with in
I was
5
trying to give you a lot of credit there.
No,
So 2019,
I got the
I
beat.
think it was 9-3-1 last year. It's my best year ever.
you were 9-3-1. You know what, Chief? I guess I should give you this. The AMPAC were 10-2-1 last year, so it was 2 or fewer losses. Correct.
All right, so Chief, what was that? That was last year?
Last year, in addition to the Slippery Beavers being 12-0-1, the AMPAC were 10-2-1 last year. Good call.
No, that counts.
Yep.
All right, so Chief gets 2 more points. So Chief, how many did you get? How many right?
So you got 4
total.
right. We got 3.
All right, so you got
The Hams had nothing there in 2017 or 18? That you're telling me the Hams didn't have less than 3 losses? I thought they did one of those years.
Hold on. 20
didn't they win the Pac Bowl one of those years?
They won the Pac Bowl with Mahomes in 2018, and I'm looking at 2018 right now.
That's what I thought I had. Maybe I was wrong.
Hold on. No, they were 9-3-1 that year.
You said
So let me get this
year
straight.
1, 3 or less losses.
No,
2 or less.
it was 2 or less,
Oh, it was 2 or less. My bad.
which is why I got confused with the AMPAC at 10-2-1.
What threw me off was when I asked you the follow-up question at the end when I said I didn't get it. And I said, well, the Sens could get 3 losses. And so you were, and that's where I thought in my head it was 3 or less.
Yeah, sorry. Yep.
So let me ask this question. How many did each person get right? I got 3 right for 6 points.
I got
Berkman
3.
got 3 right for 6 points, and Chief got 4 right for 8 points. Correct?
I got Sens, Beavers, Fats. Those are the ones I got.
That brings our season totals to Hank leading with 27, Berto standing pat at 18, Berkman rocketing by him to 22, Chief, as a member of the guest roles now, will jump up to 15 total points, attending about half the number of questions. So,
Nice.
I feel like there were a couple times Chief was not here that we tried to load up the points and didn't do that well.
I'm not sure you succeeded very
I
well.
know.
We did not. We definitely did not.
No, but Chief usually kicks everybody's ass at this, and I feel somewhat good that we're ahead. But if we're kind of, we're having to stack the deck.
Hey, this is the first year that I've been able
next year,
to.
next year, if you like, I'll ask the questions and Stick can play.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
All right.
That would be awesome.
So we've talked a lot about the big games on tap.
That's almost like an Alex Trebek handover.
We'll talk about that offline. That could
I'm in
be
the running for that one too.
nice.
All right, Rich, give us our usual quick run through the schedule. We've talked a lot about these games, but why don't you just give us the full schedule here to wrap us up?
Yeah, sure thing. So we got the game of the week I was calling was the Devils Mongols because it's winning in, right?
Yeah.
So that's the game of the week. And then, for some seeding, I had sponge and hams, and I'm guessing that still does play into the seeding, yeah?
Yes.
Right? As you were describing before. We got the Fats at the Lizards going, who's gonna drop to the number 2 pick maybe. And then the Wheels Killers, Hank looking to finish the season strong with a statement win versus both division rivals, right? By the way, I did find it ironic and funny that the Fats and the Lizards both scored Syracuse 44s last week. Senators playing the Aliens. Can the Aliens prove they belong in the playoffs by beating the league-leading only 2-loss Sens? Can they give them their 3rd loss? We'll see. And then you got the Beavers at the Impact, fairly meaningless, and except the Beavers will retain the number 1 pick if they end up losing that game to the Impact, which I would say is 99% sure. There it is. Final week of the season. Lucky week 13, baby. Cheers to you guys. Go rock it out.
What do you guys think of Devils Mongols?
At least on my view right now, they don't, because of the lateness of the Wednesday afternoon game, they don't even have the matchup up here on the site. But
no?
I think that the Mongols are the better team. I don't want to go through matchup by matchup, but I think Josh Allen's the key here. He's playing a very good San Francisco defense. Right now they have J.K. Dobinson. I'm not sure if he's going to play or not, or how much he's going to play. Good receivers. I guess I'm going to do this the hard way. And
they do have the matchups up. It's just not the score.
Mongols don't have a kicker in their current lineup. They're going to need to get a kicker.
I have last week's scores. I don't have this week's matchups.
If you look under scores where it says scoring preview, you could see it.
Yep.
Okay. So I tried going around the other way when I went to the team's roster and then the projection. That's the projection, not the preview.
Real quick, guys. The thing is, we're not going to know the outcome of this game, this big game, until Tuesday night.
Isn't that exciting?
Look at all the Baltimore players in this matchup.
I know. He's hopeful that is the good news. I mean, you got to think from the first contact with J.K. Dobbins, it's going to be more than 14 days because it was 6 days that they gave them alone, right? And now you're talking another 7, so that's 13 days out, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's playing.
That plays to his advantage from that perspective.
Let me tell you the key to this game is Josh Allen for the Mongols versus Stephon Diggs for the Devils.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson needs to show up for the Devils.
No doubt.
I mean,
if he plays,
that's huge. If Josh Allen puts up 22 points and Stephon Diggs takes 13 of them, that's huge. That with Julio Jones is probably the wrong side of questionable, opening a lot of targets up for Calvin Ridley. Devils have a shot. Frankly, I'd like to see it. I like Nick's trash talking.
I think that the go ahead, Hank. Sorry.
No, I was going to say this is the kind of game that traditionally in this league the Devils win and crush the dreams of the young underdog with the Mongols. This is the week we root for the Mongols, everyone. The Mongols are a team that deserves our support to make the playoffs and put the Devils' season to rest. And I say that with all love for Nick. He knows I love him, but Nick's won plenty. The Mongols need to get in the playoffs, and I hope that they win. We shall see.
I think the difference in this game is going to be Gary Gnu. He's going to put up 15 to 20 points against Seattle, and that's going to be the difference for Nick, and he's going to come away with the win.
Hang on a second, though. You mentioned Gary Gnu. I need to ask, the addition to the commissioner report today in the model lineup, is that Marissa Miller?
Yes.
Oh, from way back.
I try to reward you with things like that, Hank.
I did not notice that.
Chief is not running, dude. Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
line.
we try to do some good things for you. I go a little extra.
Rich, you do more good than Superman.
I mean, yes. Thank you for that.
I had something very serious to say, but
there's no Marissa here.
I'm sorry. I got
about Gary Gnu.
I don't know anymore. Hank just totally.
everybody.
Yeah, you never know. It was like getting bonus coverage, right? The week ended, but then it didn't end, and we went to Wednesday, so I had to give you some bonus coverage.
It's like Wednesday afternoon football. You just all of a sudden they throw that out for you.
Yeah.
But that was a gift, and I appreciate the effort, and I say keep it coming. That was fantastic. If you have not seen this, go have a look immediately.
Surprises for the league. The commissioners bringing it to
Marissa
you.
Miller.
Thanks for reminding me to bring it back, Chief.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right, guys, just under an hour. We are wrapping up here, heading into Week 13 action. Good luck to you know what? I remembered what I was going to say real quick, which is just bringing us all the way back. This webcast really does set the table well for discussion all season long. We started early in the year getting on the Mongols about their draft, spotlighting the fact that the Mongols are often in this exact position, straddling the playoff line. As Hank noted, unfortunately, they often fall just a little bit short, but do so where they're getting that number 5 or number 6 overall draft pick and get themselves stuck in the same cycle every year. And then we stuck in a cycle as well, but at least generally just sneaking into the playoffs and unfortunately not winning there. But that's been the tale of these two teams, is one just getting in, one not just getting in. The Mongols have a chance here to have a winning season but not make the playoffs. So, yeah, I think we're all kind of rooting for the Mongols. All right, yeah, so, again, trying to wrap us up under an hour here. Good luck to the Mongols. Good luck to the Devils. Good luck to the Giant Killers, the Hams, the Aliens, all of us who are fighting for playoff spots or playoff positioning. Good luck to the K-Wheels, the Lizards, in their fight for a better draft pick, perhaps. To the Beavers, to the Fats, and everybody else fighting for the number 1 overall pick. And we'll be back here next week talking about the first round of the playoffs coming up. So good luck to everybody. Stay safe out there. And we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Cheers. Good night.
Bye, everybody.